Hello, everybody, and welcome to Finding the Faith. It is Tuesday at 7 p.m., so you know where we are. And yes, for those who may not have remembered, it has been Tuesday all day. As I was telling a dear friend earlier, we are here to explore what matters, and I'm so excited that we have Anna Williams back to let us know about what goes on at International Pathfinders Camporee. She's had a lot of really exciting stuff happen since she's been on the show last, so she's here to tell us all about it. Thank you so much for coming on, Anna. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing great. How are you, Frida?
I'm doing great too. It's so wonderful to see your beautiful face
Thanks.
and to hang out with you guys in chat. Yes, that is Frida from chat is already cracking me up. I low-key feel like we should bring them on. Um, but yes, it is Tuesday, isn't it? Oh, I do apologize for being a little tardy to my own party. It's always a risk when you have a friend on the show.
Very true. Very true.
So, to get started, what is International Pathfinders? I know you told us a bit about it when you were on the show last, but for those who might not have caught your episode, which you should go back and watch later after this, or listen to if you are on audio, can you give us a bit of a TLDR about it?
So basically Pathfinders is I would call it kind of like a mix between like youth ministry and like scouts. Um, so I believe that it's just for children that are aged, I believe 10 to 18, if I remember correctly. So it's a like a youth ministry where you can I believe you meet at least every other week is typically what my church does through the Seventh-Day Adventist church. And you can earn honors, which are kind of like which are patches or kind of like skills that you can learn,
Oh,
um,
cool.
which is
Almost like Girl
really
Scout
cool.
badges.
Exactly. Yes. So kind of like
Okay.
Boy Scout, Girl Scout badges. But it's the badges themselves aren't necessarily always faith-based. It could be things like sewing, or it could be things like, oh gosh, like horsemanship, or like arts and craft things. Like there's so many different categories of honors that you can earn. And
That's so
then
cool.
once you earn 7 honors in one particular like section, you
Hmm.
then can become like a master of whatever that section is. Then you can earn like the
Oh, cool.
master honor badge, which I think is really cool. So,
That is.
um but it's a really great way to implement faith kind of into, I guess, real life too, and kind of um these kids to come in and,
Mhm.
build their life skills essentially as well too, which I think is really cool, in a very positive environment. Like these kids could be doing like 10 other things, but like
Yeah,
the fact that they come to Pathfinders is, I really enjoy it. So
that's absolutely amazing. Also, I do apologize for whatever tech glitch kicked you off the screen for a second there.
all good.
But that's so cool. And so, what you do with this is you kind of like, are you one of the like counselors, kind of like helping them out with like learning different skills?
Kind of. It's more like staff, so we can help teach honors.
Hmm.
We I mean, there's lots of different things you can do, but a lot of the time it's kind of just support staff for our directors.
Okay, that
And
makes
recently
sense.
we got new directors. So um, they had been Pathfinders themselves, and they were TLTs, which is like teen leaders in training. And
Hmm.
then once you are, I think, over 18, then you can become staff, which is what I am. But now those two gentlemen are actually our directors. And so our old director and his wife are now our area coordinators, which is super cool.
That's
So we'll still see
amazing.
them, and they'll still come to, our Pathfinder meetings when they're able to. But that was a really cool opportunity for them to um kind of advance in the
Yeah.
Pathfinders, which is really cool. Um so basically, we're staff, so we can kind of help facilitate Pathfinder meetings. We can help facilitate, creating honors and helping teach those honors, and making sure that the kids do the required like paperwork and skills that they need in order to actually earn those honors. So it's very cool. It's very, very cool. And I very much enjoy it. So
That's wonderful. Do you have like a favorite honor that you've gotten to teach at? I know you've been involved with them for a bit of time now.
I have not taught an honor yet. So when I joined, which I think was back in
Mhm.
February, was when I
Mhm.
first joined. Um, they were doing a screen printing honor, or it's like a stamp printing, screen printing honor, which was really fun to do, which I actually got
That's
that
so
honor.
cool.
So very proud of myself for that. We had the Lego honor and then the duct tape honor. And so I didn't get a chance to do the Lego or the duct tape honor, and I'm not
What's a duct
exactly
tape honor?
I kind of caught a little bit about I don't know if it was like because there's paperwork that you do initially, and so it's like either
Mhm.
learning the history of something or, learning, what uses this particular thing has. But I want to say that part of the duct tape honor, at least that I saw, was that they
Mhm.
had to, and this might have just been something somebody was doing for fun.
Yeah.
But I remember one of our Pathfinders like made like a little like duct tape boat and they had to float I mean, really whatever they wanted, but I think they
Yeah.
were floating their phone in it, which I was like, "That's a little risky,"
It
but,
is.
it did float, thankfully.
So it
Um,
paid off. It paid
yes,
off.
and so I think one of the things that they had to do was measure out like different types or not different types, different lengths of duct tape. I caught like little bits and snippets because
Yeah.
I was doing other stuff to help prepare for Pathfinder Camporee. So I was
Mhm.
doing like inventory of all the um like pins and badges and sashes and gloves and pants and shirts and all the things that we had to make sure that we had enough for the
Yeah.
kids when we left. So I was kind of getting little snippets of the honors. But I have not taught one yet. I'm kind of going through the list of honors and I'm like, okay, what could I teach? What would be
Mhm.
interesting to these kids to um learn about and get an honor in. And some of
Yeah.
these kids like that have been in Pathfinders for a while have quite a few, like, honors that they've earned. Like, some of
Mhm.
them have, like, upwards of, like, 20. There
Wow.
was there was at Campfinders Path or excuse me, Pathfinders Camporee,
Mhm.
there was a video that was being shown, and this guy typically, there's only 3 across on your sash. This guy
Mhm.
had 5 across, and it was
Wow.
full, and I was like, oh my word, that is and it was a thick sash, like, it was massive, like, these are not, like they're probably I'd say maybe the size of, like, 4 quarters, like, in diameter, so they're not huge, but they're
Mhm.
not, like, little itty bitty things either, so to have 5
Yeah.
across is, like, insane, um, but it's rewarding to see these kids earn honors because it's like,
Mhm.
this is a skill that you're gonna be able to take into, like, your life as you get older, so it's
Yeah.
very rewarding, plus they get to every other week, um, one of the staff will do worship, which is usually, like, basically kinda like a Bible study or like,
Mhm.
"Hey, I was reading, this during my own personal Bible study time, and I wanted to share this," and one of the, um meetings that we had for Pathfinders, I actually shared a little bit of my testimony, which was really, really cool, and kinda just like
That's
the power of
amazing.
prayer, which I thought was very, very much needed, is definitely understanding the power of prayer, so
Absolutely. That's so true. That's so amazing, all the wonderful skills that, this program teaches these kids.
absolutely, absolutely. It's and it's excuse me, it's very cool to see the different types of honors that they have and that they can earn. I have a friend of mine who, is also Seventh-Day Adventist, and I believe that he and his dad are in the process of creating an honor, and
Oh,
they,
cool.
are potentially piloting that honor. I'm not exactly sure when, but he had asked if I would be willing to
Mhm.
pilot that um, at our Pathfinders group, so, um but yeah, so you have the option. I think there's obviously certain criteria that you have to have in
Mhm.
order to create an honor. I personally don't know what those are, because I just wanna teach one before I even think about creating one.
Yeah, understandably.
But, there are tons of different honors that you can earn, so it's very exciting. So there's definitely something for everybody. So if you're like, I don't really, I'm not a huge like arts and crafts person, but I
Mhm.
really enjoy being out in nature, or I enjoy cooking, or I enjoy like all these other things, you have these honors that you can earn in those different areas.
That's amazing. That's so cool. I love how it's so like tailored so that everybody kind of gets their chance to shine.
Mhm.
But it still
Absolutely.
requires, the hard work and the dedication of earning that honor. So it's very merit based.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. It's not, let's just say it's not impossible to earn honors, but it's definitely not just like a quick Google search and, you write a two paragraph paper. It's like for the screen printing one, we had to, or like stamp, like where you like chisel out the stamp, like the rubber stamp, and then you have to like
Mhm.
print that onto something. Like I think you had to make two of them, I believe, two or three
Mhm.
of them. So it wasn't just like this quick thing. Like you had to go back, you had to find the design, you had to, carve that into the rubber stamp, and you
Yeah,
had
that's a lot of
to.
work.
So
I
it's
did
not
that in
impossible, but not
Yeah,
easy, not like super easy either. So
exactly. I think I did that in middle school. I think it was like I know I did that. I think it was in middle school.
Mhm.
And that was so much fun, but it was a lot of hard work too cuz
It
your girl
is.
did not know her, way around a chisel necessarily.
Right, right. And having to remember, especially for that one, like having to remember that you have to write everything backwards because when it prints, it's gonna
Yep,
print backwards if you write it how you would normally. And I forgot that. I don't have it readily available, but I
relatable.
do still have like the little print that I made, which is really cool. So
That's awesome. I was obsessed with that particular craft. It was so much fun.
it was really fun.
So, getting to the camporee, you know, what is a camporee first of all?
So, essentially a camporee, it happens every 5 years and it's international. So I believe it started out just as a national camporee.
Mhm.
Um, and then through the years it's then spread to become something international. Um, and I believe for the last so it was hosted actually in the state that I live in for the last 5 times, so the last 25 years. I don't know if we just, like, outgrew the space that they
Mhm.
had where I like, in our state, but we ended up going out to Gillette, Wyoming, which let me tell you, I was not expecting how well my kids traveled on a bus for 15 hours. And, like, when we
Yeah.
made stops, we were, like, we'd go to the bathroom, we'd get, like, our snack or whatever, and then we were back on the bus. I was very impressed with my group of kids, let me tell you. But they were
Yeah,
they're
having
great.
worked in
It
education
was
for 11 years, that's impressive stuff.
it was something. But I think it also helped that a lot of our kids are, like, tw 13 and older, so it's not like we're
Oh, yeah.
dragging along, like, five-year-olds with us. Um,
Yeah, that's exhausting.
yeah.
Sorry,
So
getting
that's
more flashbacks.
no, you're good. So our head pastor and his wife brought their little ones, so I wanna say that they were, like, 3 and 5, and they were, like, very well behaved, but they typically stuck with, like, either one of the staff members or their parents, so it wasn't like we were responsible for them per
Mhm.
se, it was more like their parents were kind of monitoring where they were and making sure that they were good.
That's
Um,
nice.
but it's basically just a massive, and when I say massive, I mean like 65,000 people massive,
Mhm.
meeting of different Pathfinder groups from around the world. So we had a lot of our, um, like, national or domestic Pathfinder
Mhm.
groups. So we had people from California, we had people from Texas, we had people from Wisconsin, we had people from Michigan, like, all over.
Yeah.
Um, my favorite one, because I'll get to the pins later, but there's a favorite pin that I did not get, but I thought it was very funny and I very much enjoyed it. So, Pathfinder Camporee.
Mhm.
So, every camporee, they have, like, a message or, like a theme, and so
Mhm.
this one was "Believe the Promise," and that was the promise of the Promised Land to Moses, and so it was going through, like, the story of Moses, and so, every night they would have, like, this massive production of some portion, like, obviously chronological, a
Yeah.
portion of the story of Moses, and it was very, very interesting. It was very well done. It was so good. It was I wish everyone could have gone.
That sounds so
Um,
cool.
but it was very crazy because I wanna say, so we left our church at, like, midnight on Sunday, which would have been
Mhm.
technically Monday morning, and I think we got there around, like, 2 o'clock. on Monday afternoon. So we were on the bus for a long time. So lots of hours of
Yeah,
driving.
absolutely.
Um, and we got there and it was super hot and we have to like lug our stuff to the campsite. But I remember, so one of our, I think it's our youth director for our, I don't know if it's just my state's conference. I think it's just for my state's conference. Like was posting stuff on Facebook of a lot
Mhm,
of the staff, like the directors and pastors went ahead of everybody else to set up tents, set up, they had their union or their conference, like kind of like headquarters where they
mhm,
put out their, main tent and their like so like ours is the Lake Union. So it's Illinois in I want to say it's Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin, I think are the 4 states. There could be more. But ours was the lighthouse. So like our big like beacon or our thing was a lighthouse,
wow.
which was really cool.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting that so they got there and they are like recording videos and it is like crazy windy. And they're like having to take down some of the tents and like the big main tent because like otherwise
Mhm,
it would have just like blown away. And
yeah.
so I was thinking ahead of time, I was like, oh no, like I'm worried that there's gonna be weather all week long because like we're in Wyoming and there is not a lot of like
Oh, you froze, girl.
wind protection.
Okay.
Like I was like, oh no, this is gonna be kind of knew like devil's gonna try really hard to like discourage us because we get there on
Yeah.
Monday and our director, who's now the area coordinator, this was like his last big thing before he transitioned to his new role. He
Yeah.
was like, he's like, I want you guys to be praying because like the devil's at the gate. He's trying to get in. He's trying to discourage us because um some of the like townspeople
Mhm.
were not super excited that we were there. And like they were trying, he told us that they were trying to deface like our main stage. I don't know exactly what
Yikes.
that all entailed, but I was like, oof, like that's not
Yeah.
good. And so yeah,
At
it was
work,
just
like, at best, that's not a warm welcome. At
no, not at
worst,
all.
could get pretty scary.
Not
Yeah.
at all. So I was like, okay. So we just need to kind of be aware that, devil's trying to discourage us. And
Mhm.
so I want to say it was Tuesday. So it's the next day. First day, everyone's, out pin trading, which is very exciting. So we all got a club pin. So each
Mhm.
of the clubs had their own pin, and then the state has a pin, and then the
Okay.
union has a pin, typically speaking. So I have all of those pins. And then but with the state pin, they
Mhm.
only gave us, I think there were 5 pins in the set, but they only gave us 3. So there was like a green, a blue, a pink, but then there was a black one and a gold one. So we ended up eventually getting the gold one, which was more
Mhm.
rare because only certain people had those. And then black was also another rare one because you had to go to like a very specific person who had all the black pins. So
Okay.
it's a lot of like trading, like, hey, I've got this pin and I see that you have that pin and I can complete your set if you complete my set. And you can do like set for set trading. But I mean, there were people from all over. Like they had people from South Korea, they had people from
Wow.
Mexico, they had people from oh gosh, where else did they have people from? Venezuela, Argentina, um, Kenya. Like they had people from all over. I believe all continents were represented except for Antarctica. Obviously, duh. And then
And just say that you don't wanna give a penguin a Pathfinder's badge. Let's be done with your speciesism, okay?
yes,
No,
we
but
do
that's the
not
one
have
that
penguins.
always gets me. Antarctica is the one that always gets me. I have, like, beef with that continent because I've worked with at least, like, whether it's been a client or a colleague, I've worked with people from 6 of the 7 continents, and it's,
Mhm.
like, my life journey to, like, find somebody from Antarctica and work with them.
Do people live on Antarctica though? Is like my
No,
question.
they
I was like,
go
I
there
don't
for,
think
like,
so.
scientific,
Like your
stuff.
research?
Yeah, like, research projects, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, I don't think anybody lives there, but I know they do tons of like research down there.
There's probably, like, travel guides that because you can't go past, like, part of it without having a travel guide. So I'd
Sure.
assume that like scientists and like travel guides live there.
I would think so. And I think like after a certain amount of time, would you just be like a citizen just because you've been there long enough?
I don't know how it works.
Like a common law, like citizenship or something? I don't know.
Or like, people from Atlantis, like
Right,
maybe
right.
that's like Secret of Antarctica, but that's a different show. So more to your point.
Oh goodness. So Tuesday rolls around and
Mhm.
so a lot of the staff, I believe actually all of us, had gotten like alerts sent to our phones so we can kind of keep an update on weather and
Yeah.
anything like as far as like closures or issues with whatever. And we were getting alerts that there was going to be a severe thunderstorm and they had predicted 70-mile-an-hour winds. And so like we're like we like on our walkies, we're like, all right, everybody needs to get back to camp. We're thinking we can probably just ride this out in our tents. And
Yeah.
when all the staff gets alerts, do not shelter in tents, go to a hard building. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh no.
this is a little more real than I thought. And I wasn't
Yeah.
like thinking like 70-mile-an-hour winds. I was like, I don't really know. I don't know how to gauge how fast that is. But obviously it's fast enough.
Hold on, you're gonna have to repeat that. You froze a little bit there. But from what you're saying, it does sound, like 70 miles an hour wind. So like at
That
least we know that they can be on, they can keep speed on the highway. But okay, hold on. You're back now, I think. Nope,
am I
not quite. Can you is it could you refresh? I'll cut to an
let
ad
me
break and you refresh. Sorry,
okay.
it's a little weird.
No, you're good.
On faith, family, and freedom. It's paraben free and it's never tested on animals. All of these things matter so much to me, as does the fact that they source their ingredients from small American farms. Nimi Skincare loves America just as much as I do. And I know you'll love them too. That's why you should go to nimiskincare.com and use code BASEDBABE to save 10% off today. Hey.
Okay. Are we good?
Okay.
Yay? Nay?
Nay.
No.
That's okay. I'll let you adjust that. Well, I announced the thing that we secretly announced at the end of the last episode, which is this right here. The giveaway. That's right. We are doing a giveaway of a PNG print and of a Finding the Faith bracelet. So each donation or piece of merch that you buy is an entry. It's a $5 minimum Rumble Rant donation to enter. And each entry, each donation of that kind will be counted in as an entry. And in a month's time, we will be pulling a winner live on stream. And I'll reach out to you after the show if you want to get your address, send you the bracelet, and email you that print. So that's very, very exciting stuff. Anna is currently fixing the the Wi-Fi issue, and she will be right back with us. I do apologize for the technical difficulties. Thank you so much for understanding. Okay, that's better. I think.
Maybe.
Oh, crap.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can see you. I can hear you. It's just a little garbled, but
Okay.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully we can get this to work.
Yeah.
Say a
Okay,
little
let's
prayer.
do it.
Lord, help this get to work. Help this work. Okay.
Please, in your holy name, amen.
Thank
Continue. So sorry, guys.
All right.
We do our best.
Just not as good, but we'll make it work. It'll all work out. Okay. So 70-mile-an-hour winds. And we're told to go to hard shelter, like a hard building. and it like passes over us. And we eventually are told we can go back to our campsites. And as we're leaving these buildings, there is a rainbow that has arched over. Amazing. And oh my gosh, that's perfect for the feeling as far
Yeah.
as where's the way here, but it is still one of the Lord's promises. So it's
I
just
mean,
very
Old
like believe the
Testament biblical
promise, wait the
vibes.
it all works.
Yeah.
It all. Oh my goodness, my brain is. I'm like going off of like very little sleep over the last week. I was sitting in a tent for a week, so like just give me some like give me some grace today. Oh my goodness. Anyway,
Yes.
I think it was that I don't know if it was later that night or the following day, but somehow someone had accidentally a cop just roaming around the campsite trying to figure out who called 911. And he somehow gets to our campsite and he's telling us, yes, like there was on the edge of town, there were 70-mile-an-hour winds. It was blowing. And as soon as he got to like outside of our campsites, it died down. Like that was 100% the Lord's protection. He basically said had 70-mile-an-hour wind whipped through the campsites, everybody's tent would have been flattened. And like there was some stuff that got wet. All of their stuff was soaked, so I felt really bad for them. But we all pitched in. We all helped like hang stuff up. It all worked out incredibly. It was very, very grateful for that because I was like, that was definitely the Lord's protection in that. And later on, I don't know if it was the next day or a couple days later, but we had been told that I think the mayor had come on to this the evening be part of this town because after the storm, there were people that were going to Gillette, you know, blankets, you need food, like we're more than happy to do laundry for you guys, which I was like, that is so sweet that these people would go out and
literally
like our stuff's probably to do stuff for you guys. And so but another really cool thing is now if you go to the city of Gillette in Wyoming, they have erected Moses that now specifically from the Pathfinder Camporee. So if you happen to go there, that's part of like our Moses in Gillette.
I'm literally Googling that right now to see if I can pull it up on screen for y'all.
Okay. But I was like, that's really cool that they like that the fact that like not only are they like erecting a statue that has to do not necessarily with Pathfinders, but is correlated to our Pathfinder Camporee, but is actually a biblical like person. Like to have a biblical like I don't say character because it makes it sound like a story, but like a biblical character erected as a statue in a town is like huge. Yeah.
That's
so
incredible.
Yeah, that is the so that's the Moses statue that is in Gillette, Wyoming now.
Wow.
Which I was incredible. Like, that is so cool. But yeah, it was such just like edifying and like the evening like the first night it got rained out because we were doing it Tuesday was the first night, and then of course that storm rolled in, so they canceled it. And then technically the third, we were sitting there and it starts to rain, and so many of us left because we're like, it's cold, it's rainy, like I don't really want to deal with sick kids all week. So like our group left and went back.
Yeah.
But then the other very, very were fine. But it was just so amazing to just be there with God-fearing angels. Had a talent stage, and if it then be asked to perform during the nightly meeting. So you're performing in front of 65,000 people, which is insane.
Wow.
But we had like
Yeah.
a young child singing with his guitar, and we had like, I want to say I can't remember where they're from, but like an international group that was doing, was it drums? It was some sort of instrument, and they were playing like another worship hymnal on their instruments. And we had baptisms going on all week during the nightly meetings, which was so fun to see. And it was like either their
It's
directors or
amazing.
their pastors were baptizing these kids in guess like the pools in front of the stage. So it was just a really penetrating. There were different vendors you could do. They had like food vendors, and there were honors you could earn during during the actual camporee. What else was there?
What
There's
was your
so much.
favorite part of it all, as far as like
I
activities go?
as far as activities go, I enjoyed watching other people pin trade, because these kids, let me tell you, they get serious about their pin trading. We were literally on our way home, and like we were on the highway with other Pathfinders, and when we would stop, we'd often stop with other Pathfinder groups. And so there was one particular kid in our group who was like an amazing pin trader, and like on our way home, and I was like, all right, like it's not even Camporee anymore, like let's. But I just thought it was funny that he was continuing to pin trade as we're like driving. um I honestly really just enjoyed the environment of everybody and watching the drill team. So like you can do either like the drum drill, or you can do like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's very like, it almost was like a military drill, like where you like
Okay.
turn in a group and you do these certain things. And they have like basic drill, they have what's called, I believe it's called fancy drill, and so you can do drill moves that are outside what is basic drill, and you can have like different pieces of your uniform. Like sometimes they'll have a beret, sometimes they'll have like red or white gloves, they'll different things that kind of make them the fancy drill. And it is so fun to watch though.
Yeah.
And with the discipline that these kids have had, and what their drill, like their drill leader. So that was really fun to see. Which it was a very busy week. But I kind of just enjoyed just like spending time with my group and like getting to know them more, because a lot of these people have known each other's for like two. And so
Yeah.
just getting to know everybody and spending time with them. And I had, I think, 4 girls in my tent. So it was me, and then a set of sisters, and then 2 like single women. And it was just really fun to like spend time with them, like talking and getting to know them more, because oftentimes they're kind of like in their little groups of their friends. And so when you're not necessarily
Yeah.
in your group of friends in a tent with other people, like you're not just going to sit there and be quiet. Like you just, we're women, we like to talk.
Exactly.
So it was just really great to spend time with the other kid, like the kids and the other adults. And it was just a lot of fun. So
One question from chat is, how big was the tent, and also what kind of tent was it?
I want to say, so our tents, we all had like separate tents. I think there were 3 girls' tents, 3 boys' tents. There was a dad and his 3 daughters that were in a separate tent, because they actually were not from a very close club. And I don't know if they were going. I think they were just joining us. And then there were a couple other like families, like my pastor, his wife, and their kids were in one. And so I think our tent was probably a 6-person tent. I would say maybe 8 if you're really squeezing people in there. I'd say comfortably it would fit 6. Because it fit 5 of us girls with a queen size air mattress, and then like 3 little like camp pad things pretty comfortably with our luggage and suitcases and stuff. I don't know the brand, but It was a nice size tent for 5 people. I was kind of glad that we didn't have as many as the other tents did. We kind of were like the
Yeah,
group of 5. So,
that's always
yeah.
nice. I
Yes.
remember growing up, I had a tent that allegedly was supposed to be able to fit 11 people. And there were 2 different air mattresses that we had in there. And we're like, okay, how are we supposed to fit 11 people in this? Like, this does not make sense. Granted, I did not have 11 people to camp with, and everybody had their own tent. But like, it's
Oh
like,
my god.
how do they? I feel like the number of tent people is inverse to toilet paper math. It's like the inverse type of math.
Interesting. Explain toilet paper math.
So they'll tell you that there's like that all of this can like I'm trying to think of a good example of like toilet paper math. Well, you know how like if you've ever seen a roll of toilet paper, right? Which I'm pretty sure everybody has. If not, like don't tell me. I don't want to know what's involved in never seeing that. But you'll see how like X plus Y basically like equals X amount of rolls.
Oh, sure. Like where
Yeah.
it's like 6 of the normal roll, or like 6 of the normal rolls equals like 3 of the jumbo rolls or something. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, exactly
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how they do tent math, because I'm like sitting here and I'm like, unless you're literally like no luggage in a sleeping bag with a pillow and you are like body to body, that is the only foreseeable way that I could say that they could put 11 people in a tent like that, or even 6
Yeah.
people in a tent like that. So I was like, it's probably, I think that's how they do
Yeah,
their
I've
math. And
never understood it.
I've never camped like that. I've always had some sort of like air mattress or camp pad or something, and I always have my luggage in there.
Yeah.
It's never just me.
Right? Like, how can it be? Do they expect people to bring a tent for the food? And I don't mean like one of those like canopy like tailgating things. I mean like a legit tent for the food, and then a tent for
Right.
this and a tent
And the
for that.
luggage and all the other stuff that you have in
Like
there. Yeah.
craziness.
And like my fiance in July, and apparently my tent can fit 4, but it just fit the 2 of us and our luggage. I'm like, there's no, you literally would have to be like body to body to body to
Yeah.
body for this to even be like
Yeah.
sort of feasible. So that's tent math for you.
So, your fiance for us. How did you guys meet? Tell us everything. I know you've been like I've been texting you, you've been texting me, been
Yes.
getting the updates, but this is an update episode, so share as much as you feel comfortable with and as much as y'all feel comfortable with because you're a unit now.
Sure. Yes. So, oh no, it says connection. Hold on.
Okay. That's so much better. Yes.
Okay. Are we good now? Okay, good.
Yes. Yes.
It is being so wonky
Thank you,
today. I am
Jesus.
so sorry. Okay. So we actually met on Twitter. I'm sorry, I will never call it X.
You know.
I think we have like one mutual follower that we each followed.
Mhm.
So we didn't even follow each other, but I guess some of my stuff was coming kind of on his like For You screen. And he's like, okay, she's got a good head on her shoulders. A lot of it was like faith-based stuff, political stuff. So he's like, okay, she's kind of smart. She's like, I'm just going to shoot my shot. And this was like a couple days before I left Twitter for like a month because I was sick of. So, oh no. Can you
Yeah, I've been
still hear me?
asking. I can still hear you. I've been asking Jesus to like give me a sign about like some podcast things, and I feel like he keeps giving me the sign from like guest tech issues to be like, okay, girl, like what are you doing? You should just move to audio only. So that's something I'll be praying about. You're not the only one who's had an issue this month.
Okay. Yeah, because like I said, we got new Wi-Fi
Yeah.
and it's been kind of wonky. Like even when I'm like it's wonky, and so definitely not the only person who's been having tech. So he slid into my DMs. He shot his shots. I think the first conversation we had, this was back in, I want to say it was March. He shot his shot, and then I think like either a week or less than a week later, we called on the phone, and we had a 7-hour long conversation on the phone, and we talked about everything. I mean, everything. Like, do we want kids? What are our political beliefs? What are our faith beliefs? What are, sharing parts of our testimony? Like we talked about so much, and I was like, and this was like the time where I'm like, okay, God, like I'm really sick of dating. Like it's clearly not gone well. Like I just want to break because I'm over this. I'm so sick of these, like, I don't know if they're lemons, but like they like seem great, and then they're like. So then he drove up. So he lives in Alabama still. So he drove up 15 hours from Alabama all the way to where I live. And he, and I want to say that was in May, middle of May, and he stayed for a week. And so the first time we met, he like got his own hotel room because it's like neutral territory, so it's not like he's staying at my house, because if like something were to go wrong, like then he could just stay at the hotel for the rest of the week, and like he's not stuck at my house or something.
Exactly.
So which I ended up just staying there, which don't recommend that if you're like me, but anywho, that's what happened. And so we did a lot of like,
for those taking notes, they should take away that they should go to hotels to meet strangers from the internet. Is this false or correct? This is also a moment where I would like to point out that Finding the Faith is not responsible for the views of our guests. And we cannot legally be held liable.
a few hours or whatever, 48 hours. But no, don't go to hotels and like meet random people, and like, but he was all the way up here, so I was like, let's get a hotel. Then it's like neutral territory, so in case something goes wrong, then you don't like you're not like stuck with somebody for. Anywho, so we did a lot of exploring, and then we then planned a trip to Tennessee to go camping. And so that was in July, which neither of us thought about the fact that we're going to Tennessee in the middle of July to go camping. It was hot. It was very hot.
Yep.
But it was great, and I would do it over again in a heartbeat, which we are. We're probably going to go there next year. I loved it. And so we kind of talked about marriage, and he actually drove up here because my car has been having some like wonky issues, and he's like, I don't really feel like comfortable with you driving your car all the way to Tennessee. I'm going to drive all the way up to Wisconsin and pick you up, and then we'll drive down to Tennessee together. And so that's what he did. So we got to spend like a ton of extra time together just driving in the car. But he ended up talking to my dad. So he'd let me know that he had already like picked out a ring. So there was no surprise. Oh, I love the background. That's so cute. There was no surprise as far as I knew I was going to get engaged. I just didn't know exactly when. And I figured it was going to be during the trip. Obviously. Tennessee, and like we're camping in like the ring. And so I was like, okay. I didn't know what it looked like, obviously. So some women know what their engagement ring looks like. I had no idea what it looked like.
I didn't know what idea what mine looked like before either.
Which I actually very much enjoyed. He did a fantastic job, might I add.
Right? Can we just like give a shout out to all the men that like don't make the woman pick it out themselves? Yes, different couples have different styles, but like, and the funny thing is, mine. I know we're talking about you. We can get back to that in a second, but but mine, I like had always thought I wanted a very specific type, and then the one he got me was so perfect, and I had never even considered that type, and it was just like the most perfect thing ever, and I was like, oh, okay, you officially know me better than I know myself. Okay. Yeah, this is a good sign.
Yeah. I think I had sent him, like, a couple of, like, I don't wanna say inspiration photos, but, like, here are kind of things that I
Mhm.
like. I sent him pictures of things like these for me because I think they're and they're newer trends for engagement rings, and I was like, "These are absolutely atrocious. I do not like these." So he had some kind of guidance, but he has a family member who works in the jewelry business, which is where he got the ring through. Here's some, like, inspiration photos and then kind of her, like, artistic freedom a little bit. But they did a
Mhm.
really fantastic job working on the ring. And
Yeah,
so,
they did.
um, yeah, we were hiking and we had done like the waterfalls near to where we were, and we were like, let me tell you, we were disgustingly sweaty and gross. Like I was hot, it was gross, it was muggy. I'm very glad no one was taking pictures because I was like dripping in sweat when he was proposing. Also, funny story, I was also fighting a muscle relaxer at the exact same time because 2 days prior to leaving, I had tweaked my back and I was like, there is
Oh,
no way that I'm going to be able to survive camping on the ground, hiking with a tweaked back. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take a muscle relaxer before we do all this hiking. And so I'm literally like walking along and like halfway falling asleep.
you
So
make fun decisions, don't you?
I make great decisions, fantastic decisions, because I had no idea when he was going to do this. And so we trail, which was great. We were gross. And then we went to another trail, which was, according to the map, was a 2-mile day trip trail. So I was like, this will be easy. We'll get this done in a little bit. I don't know if we turned down a wrong road, but like we were watching with the mile markers. So we started actually from the 2-mile mark and
Mhm.
we're like, okay, 1.75, okay, 1.5, and then we lost the mile markers. And I'm like, I have not
Oh
seen
no.
the mile markers in like probably a mile. Where are we? And so I was like, we probably went on trail. And I was like, oh no. Cause like this felt
Oh
way
no.
more than like a 2-mile hike. And so then we thought the park closed at 4:30 and it's like 4:20 and we finally see another mile marker. And it's like we have 3/4 of a mile left that we have to do in 7 minutes. And so I'm like trying to like book us along so we don't get locked in this park. And I'm like, okay, we gotta hurry up. We gotta hurry up. And then like he's putting his backpack in front of him. And I'm thinking like, okay, maybe he's trying to get water. So like I take a little break and he drinks some water and then puts the lid back on real quick. And then we keep walking. It's like, okay, all right, let's keep going. Come on. Like I want to get out of this park. I don't want to be locked in here all night. And then we're passing like we have these really pretty waterfalls, these really
Mhm.
like sweet streams that we were walking by. And like I'm like, all right, buddy, come on, we gotta keep going. And he's like, hold on, wait. And I was like,
Respectfully, TLC warned you. TLC warned you about this. It warned you what happens when you go chasing waterfalls. It also helps you know what happens when you stick to the lakes and the rivers that you're used to, you know. But
very true.
continue, and then I'll tell you another story after so you don't feel bad.
Um,
Or like
and
I'm making fun of
so
you.
he he like so I'm in front of him because I'm trying to like book us out of this park. And
Mhm.
he's behind me and he like grabs my arm. He's like, hold on, wait. And I was like, what? I was like, do you need more water? Like, I was like, I just want to get out of the park so we're not lost and we don't get locked in. And then I see him reach his hand in his backpack and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'm like, it might just be him grabbing his water bottle, but he like throws his backpack on the ground and I see the box and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then like, I don't even remember what happened after that. All I remember is he said very sweet
Mhm.
words and I blacked out. Not actually, but like I just was like,
Yeah.
I don't remember anything. Love him dearly, but I don't remember anything he said. I was just like,
Yeah.
um,
That
and
that
he
frequently
got,
happens.
yeah, I was like, I don't
Yeah.
remember anything he said. I don't know if he like grabbed my cheek, nothing. And he got down on one knee and he like opened up the box and I was like, oh my gosh. And um, let me tell you, on the rest of that trip out of that trail, I was like
Mhm.
this every like 30 seconds. I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then we got back to our car. We called my parents, we called his parents, we like, called friends. And it was just very, very sweet. But then like every time I was like, oh my gosh, it's still there. Okay, it's still there. Okay, it's still there. It's still there. It was like this like don't lose the ring rest of the trip because I was camping and I was like,
Yeah. That would have given me
okay,
massive anxiety.
fighting. it was very, very, it was a very good trip. And then we drove down to Alabama, and I actually met his parents in person, and they were very, very sweet people. And so we spent a day trip there. We swam, met his sister. It was all around just a really good trip. Even if I hadn't gotten engaged that trip, it was just a very all around a very good trip. So,
oh, I love that.
yes.
These are wonderful things. So that's incredible.
Yes.
And if it helps, because obviously we're friends, but I do want you to make sure that you know that I'm not laughing at you. I've done all sorts of things. One time I had to run like 20 city blocks in New York like 10 years ago. Actually, 11 now, because 11 years ago. Because we got the bus times wrong. And you know those like very sketchy double-decker buses that have a historic pattern of being buses you shouldn't exactly go on, but then like when you have logistics issues, that's when you end up having to go on them. Those ones? Yeah. So I had to run 22 city blocks with a bunch of like with a group of new friends who were like random Asians from California. And all of us were running to Chinatown to get the bus. Otherwise, we would have been stranded in New York.
Oh no. Yeah.
It was the most chaotic day trip I've ever taken. So,
did you at least make the bus when you got
there? We did.
there?
We did make the bus. I have never breathed so hard in my life, but we made the bus. And we made it with like 10 minutes to spare.
Oh,
so
you guys did good then. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
but
yes.
that's only because the bus was like 5 minutes late.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, it was, oh my goodness. Can't even. But yeah.
So yeah,
that is, yeah, that's amazing.
Yes.
At first, I thought you told me, like, at first I thought you were going to tell me that he, like, was putting his backpack on his front so that he could run like that, so it wasn't just, like, smacking his back as y'all were running.
No, we were not running because it had rain, and so it was kind of muddy, and, like, I was like, there were a couple times that we were, like, kind of starting to slide down, and, like, that was the first trail that was a little bit more rocky, and that was very interesting. It was quite the trip.
Yeah.
But, it was a good trip. But before I forget,
Yes.
I wanted to show it'll kind of be hard to see them on the computer, but I wanted to show y'all the pins that I got at the Pathfinder Camporee. So, there are in, like, one of the big pavilion buildings where all the vendors are, you have the option to buy pins, which is what I did, because socially awkward to trade pins with people because I was like, I don't know the worth of the pins. Like, I don't know what's rare, what's not rare, whatever. So I was like, I'm going to buy some pins because I want the ones I like. So let me just, and let me tell you, like, this is just part of the collection. A lot of them I have that aren't on here are just duplicates because we were given like 3 sets of our club pin and then 2 sets of the state pin. So this is the pins that I have.
That's amazing.
Bring these up here. So these are like funny Moses.
One.
Wow.
They're so big.
They're massive. Someone gave this one to me for free. This one I found on the ground. This is one I got from someone from Argentina. This is I'm going to cover up the name just in case it's visible. This is our club pin. And then this was the one that I got that I thought was really cool. So it says, believe the promise. And so it's like the burning bush, Pharaoh's daughter finding Moses, so like the plagues and then the splitting of the sea as well too. So these were really, really cool. So everyone's like trading pins and I'm like, I'm okay with the pins I got them because I like them. So I'm like, I don't really want to trade any of them. But I heard the coolest thing. People are always, but like some people are like, why in the story did they paint, the lamb's blood on the door? And so one of the things that they did during that time was that I believe that they said that those door frames were made from like stone. And so they would write or carve the names of everyone who lived in that home. And so like if it was like Mary, John,
Mm-hmm.
all of
Yes,
their
because
names
we
would be
all
written on the
know that, like, in Israel, their names were Juan and Timmy.
door. Exactly.
I need to call an archaeologist.
Um
I'm just teasing. Continue, please.
so basically they would have their names written in the frame of the
Mm-hmm.
door. And so
Mm-hmm.
when they were painting the blood of the lamb on the door, they were essentially, it was kind of foreshadow in a ways of like us being covered
Yeah,
by
excellent.
like the blood of the lamb, and it was like all of those names were being covered by the blood of the lamb, which I thought was so cool. And so I was like that was kind of like I always
Yeah, I
thought of it
didn't
more
like
as
that
like
one
a
fact puts that
marker.
so into perspective.
Right. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, so maybe it's just like a not that like, you know, they don't know like who lives in the house, but it's and they would just like pass over them. But like I was like, oh, it's just like a marker, like don't go in this house. But it's
Mm-hmm.
actually so much more significant than that. And I was like, that like blew my mind. And I'm like, and like one of the preachers that was there was like, basically don't stop painting. Like paint over, pray over the people in your home, your friends, your families, um, like all of that, and like don't painting the blood of the lamb
Yeah.
over the people in your life. And I'm sitting there like sobbing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like such a great way to look at it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I never knew that. I never knew that until then. I was like,
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's
it's
like
amazing.
that's absolutely fascinating. Like it's so cool how the more you learn, like how even one fact can put so much into perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds me of what Ashley had shared in Discord today. Which by the way, guys, you should absolutely join our Discord if you haven't already. The link is in the description below. We have really cool conversations, we play games, we have fun, we do life together. But Ashley shared this today and I thought it was so beautiful. She I adore her. Her dad's gonna come on at the end of this month. She's already been on the show. You guys know her. But sometimes she gets like she has such fire for Jesus that she'll literally like give a sermon in our Discord general chat, and it's amazing and I love it. So she had said that it's a no-brainer for someone who is dehydrated to say, please give me some water, but to be quenched and still ask for it doesn't come as natural. Jesus is the living water. Whoever drinks of him will never thirst again. But we must keep coming back to the source. It's unlimited, but you don't get it if you don't go to him.
Mm.
And I'm like, I'm low-key bad at drinking water even when I am thirsty in real life. Kyle calls me the fish and he's like, does the fish need her water? I'm like, yes. And he passes me my bottle and I go glug glug like the fish that I am.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
It's a whole routine. But, you know, from a spiritual aspect, it's so important that whether you're new or you've been in your faith tradition for so many years, that you keep coming back to the source, that you keep exploring what matters.
Mm-hmm. I agree, absolutely.
And
And I think,
if mhm,
oh, I was gonna say, and I think there are so many times where like, even like with physical thirst, you're like, sometimes you don't realize you're thirsty, and like you'll be like,
yeah,
oh, am I maybe I'm kind of hungry, and I'll go and like I'll eat something. I'm like, that don't really fix what I feel, and then I'm like, well, maybe I need like which tea does technically quench your thirst, but it's not the same as water. And so I feel like a lot of the time we're kind of like, wow, I just like, I feel like some of us don't understand or know exactly how it feels to be spiritually thirsty. And so
Mhm.
we are like, I feel like something's missing or something doesn't feel right. So I'm going to go and, go out to the bar and drink, or I'm going to, have relationship with men, or I'm going to do all these other things because like something is missing.
Mhm.
And you try to quench that thirst with lemonade or tea or coffee instead of like going and actually getting water
Yeah.
is craving and needing. And so I think a lot of us don't understand or maybe don't always know the signals of when we're spiritually thirsty. And so sometimes just putting God as like your first like go-to,
Mhm.
9 times out of 10 is probably what you needed anyway. Instead of the men or the alcohol or the drugs or the screen time or whatever it might be. Whatever, your vices are when you're, spiritually thirsty.
Absolutely. That's so well
So,
said. And consistently checking in with yourself to explore what matters is so important because it's literally so easy to get caught up in your daily life. It's easy to not do things. It's hard to do things, no matter what they are, because it involves doing something. It involves going outside of just doing nothing.
mhm.
And that's one of the reasons to why Hannah and I designed these shirts, because it's a call to, not just become blessed, not just enter a relationship with Jesus, but to truly stay blessed. Plus, we also have hoodies, and they're super, super cozy when we're getting into that fall weather. So, yeah. But I'm so thank you. Somebody in chat said that was a great ad transition. That's not why I had to share what Ashley said. But I mean, if it works, it works, right?
Right.
But that's something that this show has really done for me. Another thing that's been super helpful personally for me, and I'd love to hear what's been helping you personally lately as well, outside of the Camporee, but has been this really cool book that I've been reading called The Jesus I Never Knew. The author's last name is Yancey, and not Laurel, Yancey, Yancey. um, but it's been absolutely fascinating. I'm on chapter 3 and I'm reading it with my best friend Sarah right now, who you guys might know as the Discord Princess. But it's been really, really cool. And if you guys are looking for a book to check out, I recommend it. What's been helping you lately? Because I know you're in a very big life transition.
Yes. So lots of things. Currently my fiance and I are going through a faith-based marriage book. We're on chapter 2 of that right now. Life got busy, but it has been so good to just be reminded in this new relationship that you're in, whether it be friends, family, husband, wife, whatever that might look like, you have to remember, and this is like something that they've been like driving home every single chapter, is that you're
Mhm.
a sinner married to a sinner or living with a sinner. And like your first response is typically going to be out of sin versus out of love or out of,
Mhm.
whatever. Um, and so just even that simple phrase of you are a sinner married to a sinner has put so much into perspective. You're like, okay, most of the time it is not like if something that he's doing is making me angry, it's probably not out of spite to me. It is probably him acting in his flesh as a sinner does. So that's been really
Yeah.
helping as far as relationship aspects, it's called Marriage, I think 6 Gospel Truths That Every Couple Should Know, and it's by Paul David Tripp, I believe, and it's been very, very good, so highly recommend. Even if you're not married or even in the process of getting married, I think it's still very good for relationships in general.
Yeah. It
Um
sounds like it would be because that's one of those things where it's like sometimes our brains, especially as women, when we're in certain phases of our cycle, want to just like hyper focus on one thing, like, oh, how dare he breathe so loud, or like whatever.
Mhm,
But then we like one thing that back before, I found more faith based things to help me was back in the day when I was going to therapy. It was like, okay, well, how many things have I done that have literally annoyed him so much that he's covered over with love for me to be like, he did this one thing that's like, what? He like existed
mhm,
in a world filled with sin. Oh, how dare he? How dare he? Right?
right.
Which it's not like I have that, happen a lot because I'm literally married to my best friend who's like the most incredible person that I've ever met. But like when you are a sinner, married to a sinner, these things happen.
Oh, yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think being real about that too can be really, really helpful because it's a lot of times you see such a highlight reel almost. And it's a good thing because, you shouldn't be like putting
Mhm.
your whole everything out there, but it almost looks a little too Stepfordy at some points.
Right. Absolutely. Um, but as far as my, like, personal faith that's
Mhm,
not tied to marriage, um, I think just being involved in a lot of different, like, Bible studies and making sure that I'm, um, filling my time with people that, have a good walk with Christ has been incredibly helpful. Um, I think another thing that has just helped it's almost lifted a weight off of me in,
mhm,
like, a spiritual sense, is that, my brother recently moved out, and so he and I actually shared that wall, and so, um quick little side story about my brother is that he was, like, a Wiccan. Now since he's not a Wiccan, which praise God for that, but there are some other things that he's doing. I was like,
mhm.
"Okay, small steps in the right direction. Don't get all, like, upset that this one thing isn't what you want." But, I think that him moving out and not being in the home has definitely, like, helped
Yeah,
me spiritually because it felt like there was always, like, I don't wanna say a constant attack, but a very slight
yeah.
constant attack all the time because, like, there were spirits that he was, like,
Mhm,
dealing with in his space that are now in the supernatural realm battling with the spirit that I have, and that was always just really hard, and he was very discouraging about my family, like, sharing our faith at home
mhm.
or talking about God, and so, um, that's been I mean, part of me is, like, glad that he's moved out, but part of me also is, like, now he
Yeah.
doesn't have that, like he doesn't have my mom, my dad, and I, who are all Christian, around him 24/7. So, like, kind of, like, a little upset that he did move out because
Yeah.
he now doesn't have that, and I have no idea what his girlfriend does, but so that's definitely helped, and I think just, um, something that will continue to help too is that I recently got a new job, which honestly has been a huge answered prayer because the job that I am ending,
Mhm.
um had me working every 3rd weekend, which would mean that I was working on Sabbath every 3rd weekend, and so I was
Yeah.
missing church, and some Wednesdays when we would do Pathfinders, I would be working, so I'd have to miss Pathfinders, or I'd have to find people to switch, and that was always a hassle.
Mhm.
Um, but now this job is Monday to Thursday, like, so 6 p.m. rolls around, I can go to Pathfinders every single time, every single Wednesday, every other Wednesday. And
Mhm.
then I don't work weekends anymore. And I get off at like noon on Fridays, meaning I can have all of Sabbath off. And so that's going to be such a huge blessing. Like, just being able to actually dedicate that time
Mhm.
to my relationship with God and spending time during
Absolutely.
Sabbath. So, like, that was a huge answered prayer. Um,
Praise Jesus.
so and just and honestly, marrying somebody who has a very deep faith and, like, encourages me in my own walk has been huge too. So if you like obviously not everybody has a great fiance or husband or wife who, can help you with your walk, but just finding people, like going to like a youth group at church, or finding
Mhm.
people who are also Christian, or um honestly, Twitter, you can find people that are
Yeah,
Christian. So like a lot of like our community will happily come alongside you, answer questions and pray for you and do all of the things. I think
absolutely. And
that's
there's even
so
certain Yes, and there's even like certain sections in Discord for that too, which has been so helpful. Even, people are like, "Oh, you're the podcast host. Don't you have all the answers?" No, I started this podcast because I had none. I had like none of them. And that's why, having a community who all have maybe they have different faith traditions, but all coming alongside me as Kyle and I embrace Christianity even further and deeper and in a more rich and meaningful way has been so helpful. And I know so many have come to Jesus because, like, even closer to Jesus because of the Discord and the work that, we all do as a community, which has been a blessing and privilege of my lifetime.
absolutely. So if you haven't joined the Discord server, join the Discord server. Another here for you. but but yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know Frida is, always happy to answer questions. I'm happy to answer questions, pray for you, live life alongside you. Um, don't be afraid to like reach out, and just the worst thing that someone can say is no. But
Exactly.
likelihood that we're gonna say no to like a prayer request is like 0%. Um,
Yeah.
so
And also, if you're, so I know that sometimes people struggle with feeling like because they lack knowledge, they're going to be made fun of. Just like, I've previously felt in math classes or whatever. But it's not like that because, I mean, granted, I wasn't really made too much fun of because of my terrible, terrible math skills, which are now better for employers who might be listening to this. But it's one of those things where we're happy to share with you because we're sharing about our favorite person. We're sharing about Jesus, and we both love him so much and all that he's done for us. And we know that he's done so much for you, and we want to help point you to him. We want to help, you know, how like figure out how that works in your life and how you can work your life to, serve him just like her and I are both trying to do. And so it's not like we're going to, laugh at you or anything along those lines if you don't know what an answer is. There's so much I don't know. There's so
Mhm,
much all of us won't know this side of heaven. But at the same time, too, like if you are experiencing that, you're probably within a toxic community, and that's not a good reflection.
mhm. Yeah, definitely will never make fun of you for not having an answer or not knowing something, because everybody is who's has a faith journey are all in different spots in their faith journey, and people have, different information, or they've, things have been revealed to them at a different time than you've been revealed certain things. So if you're like, I don't understand this, or I just don't understand how, why God did this, or, X, Y, or Z, like it may just be that you're in a different spot, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay.
Exactly.
And people around you will meet you where you're at. So,
Especially because he's like a loving father. And I know sometimes those of us who may not have had that experience to actually know what a loving father is like can struggle with that almost like a spiritual daddy issues kind of aspect of things where we're like, okay, like if he's like my earthly father, like no things I don't want it. But he's not. He's fully perfect and he's willing to do all those things that you deserve to have from your parents and
mhm.
a million times more.
And I'm going to tell you from experience too, just kind of talking about like the spiritual daddy issues. I was recently, I think like a couple months ago, I was talking about like, how do you view your earthly father? And how does that shape your view of your heavenly father? And I didn't even really like ever think about that. But I was like when you sit down and think about, you know, how does your earthly father act when things get hard? Or how does or, you know, maybe you were in an abusive relationship with your like earthly father, and how does that kind of shape your relationship with God, and realizing that that is not how he is like so freeing, but it is also so hard to work through. Um and I mean, everybody's with their fathers is different. And so yours might be like, well, you know, when things kind of hid and really you're like, well, then why would God kind of meet me in my mess? And he's probably just gonna like run away when things get hard and I won't be able to reach him or I can't talk to him, which is not true, by the way.
Thankfully.
And so it's definitely think about those things and like how do you view God and how do you view your earthly father as well too. So that was a really good point. I was like, oh yeah, that is something that I've thought about and like honestly prayed and cried about too. So
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's one of the things that you and I like first really like bonded over too.
agreed. Yeah.
So, yeah. Would you like to close in prayer?
I can actually, yes. I would like to close in prayer. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening just with such gratitude and love for you. Um, Thank you for allowing me to spend time with my friend Frida on her podcast and just be able to share, you know, about Camporee and just the things that you did while we were there and how you protected us during the storms and just, you know, after the storms, just showing your Lord, I just pray that people watching this episode that are maybe struggling with, you know, how they view their fathers, just um, make yourself so real and so loving to them that there is no denying that you are love and that there is no a negative correlation earthly fathers in you. For some of the things that Frida is going through and the frustration with all of the things, that it all gets worked out and that there is healing in this process. Lord, I pray for all the viewers that are watching right now that they have a wonderful week. And I know a lot of us are starting school in a couple weeks. I just pray that this semester goes really, really well, and that it's a good transition for the school year. And I pray this in your heavenly name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Now let's check out the mailbag. On the app formerly known as Twitter. So this week, I'm excited to bring you guys a fire meme that was sent to me actually during this episode about toilet paper math.
How
So 16 double plus rolls equals 36 regular rolls. We can see here. 14 rolls equals 18 regular rolls. So, yeah. This is the meme.
and none of
Enjoy.
it's equal. Like at all.
Exactly.
Like if you
Exactly.
look at the bottom right corner, it's like 18 equals 82, but also 36 equals 82. I don't know. There's no. And it looks like it's all the same brand too. The font's the same, the colors are the same. So I'm like, there is no like there is no like what's the word I'm looking for? Like consistency.
Correlation. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my word.
Exactly. And there was just one more meme that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm trying to where did it go? Sorry guys, I'm trying to pull it up for us. Okay, I guess I cannot find it. But if you guys are in the Discord, we have a whole meme section. So, you know, there's something for everybody in the Discord. I want you guys to know that my strategy was not to keep telling you to join the Discord tonight, but it just kept naturally happening. So enjoy that, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Finding the Faith, where I got to explore what matters with my dear friend Anna Williams. Stay based and stay blessed.